The real estate stats may not be what you think they are, and we're going to delve into a complex conversation with the acting manager of the 50th and France Edina Realty office, Judd Sampson, today, and hear what the facts actually are. Welcome back to Fly the Coop. Judd, welcome.
Thanks for having me this morning, Cari Ann.
I've been wanting to get you on the show for a long time. I'm really honored that you were able to make it today. You are a powerful presence in the real estate community in Edina and throughout the Twin Cities. And you've been very insightful and helpful to not only our office, but to the company as a whole. So we're really excited to hear about some of the stats you've been researching as it relates to what's happening in the metro and the Twin Cities and what's happening in our office. It's enlightening, really. I was quite intrigued when we visited this week.
Absolutely. I think there's a tale of two stories going on with what's happening in the real estate world. First off, I think there's a side of where prices and pricing are going.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of headlines that say the real estate market is changing. There are things going on with prices potentially falling, interest rates rising. Dig into the stats and look at average sale price in the Twin Cities. Year over year, we're sitting at about 1.5% up in pricing overall for the Twin Cities market. Obviously, market by market, home by home, that varies, but overall, we're sitting in a very strong market.
It's incredible, really, how powerful our market is. A very stable one. It always has been through every dip and valley we've seen over the last 25 years. If we're going to go back to just recent stats, it is a very stable environment. What I think is particularly interesting is when you were looking at the metro in terms of the production versus our very own office. Kind of enlighten everybody about what that looks like and where the stats come from and how that works.
Absolutely. So looking at the Association of Realtors, they produce the various stats given on where the market has been trending. Looking at volume, so the dollar value of homes that have been sold in the Twin Cities area, year over year, we're down about 19.8%. Looking at our office within Edina Realty, our pending volume this year is at 1.1% down. So we are outperforming the market by almost 20%. And really, when you start looking behind that, there's a lot of different factors that contribute to that. I think the number one factor is the need for quality professionals who understand how to navigate a market and actually list a home in the best way, shape, and form, and coach and negotiate in a way that new agents who may have gotten in the market in the last year, 2 years, 3 years, who put homes on the market and they sell immediately, don't understand how to really navigate that issue.
As a coach, because you do mentor and coach a lot of realtors, and you are constantly being inundated with calls because people are looking to make a career change. And from arm's distance, arm's length, I call it, many attribute and contribute the speak, if you will, of what they think this business is and what the reality of this business is. So as it relates to production in the city and a growth model as we're growing people's careers, what would be your number one piece of advice in a shifting market right now, regardless of how long somebody's been in the business, or if they're considering leaping into this business, what would be the number one piece of advice you would give them based on the current market trend? Big question.
I would lean on that adding value in various different ways to the transaction is the most important piece. And really, when we discuss value, it's in the eye of the receiver, as we've talked about. The knowing and understanding what your client's objectives and goals are and helping them craft a plan to reach those goals.
Right.
It's easy to take pictures, put a home on the MLS, receive an offer, open a door. Those are not what we get paid for.
No.
To give value to our clients, helping them through the transitions in life, helping them plan and strategize with what it looks like financially, what it looks like emotionally, what it looks like physically to move into a new place in life.
Mm-hmm.
We add that value. And if we're not educating ourselves on how to add that value and what the actual pieces that clients are looking for, then
Mm-hmm.
we're missing.
So, what do you think the biggest disconnect is out there in terms of how, for those of us that have a fairly large repertoire of services, which Edina Realty does, there's a lot of service oriented speak and availability of support systems. I would say building a team around the client, separately building a team around the realtor that is learning the speed and pace of this business. Separately, as part of that, I find that the market's been embedded with more complexity, if you will, because of three. I call it the trifecta. I always Carter and always laughs at me. It's really about what's happened with social media, what's happened with news, and what's happened with the authenticity of what's really happening feet on the ground and what's happening in terms of the opinion of those two issues going on, and how you shall I say weed through or swim through to a line of clarity and are able to articulate that, teaching it and then communicating it, teaching it to the real estate community and then communicating it to the clientele out there. Real estate, as we both know, Judd, it's a major, powerful play in our local, national, and global economy. It is a necessity. It will never go away. AI will never be able to take over our job. It's not physically, humanly possible. People may interpret it that way, but in actuality, the innate need for us as service providers and as educators and as leaders in this business, in this industry, it's really getting down to minutia of the why behind what we're doing, the people that enter this business and why they're entering it for the right reasons, hopefully. And as we're seeing more controversy in the market about how we conduct business on a high level, what value really means and what we really do. Because I don't know that I know my clients know what I do. I'm never questioned ever. Like they are just like, thank God, here we go. Just here, I'm handing you the keys, take over. I'm going to go on vacation for a week. There's that. And then there's a lot of uncertainty out there for the most part. So I know that was a whole lot, but if you were to, in your role as a manager, say to your team of people in front of you, which are the agents, what would be the number one thing you'd say to them to provide them clarity in the why, the grit, and the dedication necessary to be really great at what they do? We'll start with that first, and then we'll go to the client.
Well, I think from the agent, it's focusing on long-term goals.
Mm-hmm.
Not in a business that you make a quick paycheck. It is building the relationships
Mm-hmm.
and understanding those relationships and being that long-term value.
Yeah.
You think you're going to get into the business and sell 10 houses the first week and that you're going to be a rock star agent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's an opportunity for that depending on how you do business. But to be a very time-tested, trusted agent, it's building those relationships, and it takes time to show and navigate what you do, how you help, and be that resource not only during the transaction but throughout their life.
Right.
Friend, whether it's a referral, whether it's helping them through picking out a beautiful wallpaper that's sitting in their office.
Mm-hmm.
That whole big picture of the relationship and coaching from an agent to a client is where you need to educate yourself and where you really need to focus as an agent.
Mm-hmm.
It's about that quick hitting lead generation, online statistic, buying a lead, and going down that path. It's
Mm-hmm.
about building trust at the end
Yeah.
of the day. And that's where if your goal every morning when you wake up is to see how many people you can build trust with, how many relationships you can build, you will be successful in real estate.
So I know that you're very consistent in the methodology of training and coaching and advising people when they're looking to leap from one career to the next into this business, what do you think is the most common, even with all the articulation, all the conversations, what do you think is the largest disconnect when people enter this beautiful business that we're in, that we love so much? What is the biggest surprise or aha to them when they get into the business?
I I think it's the complete mindset of what our goal is and how we're accomplishing that goal.
Yeah.
I go back, Cari Ann, from to the point of we're funding a life.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody who gets into a business, most people who get into a business are not doing this because they have a trust fund and need to fill time during the
Oh.
day. They're doing it to fund the life that they want to live. So we start with that, and we really start looking at what are you trying to accomplish and what do you need to do to accomplish that? And in life, it's time or money at the end of the day. And there's that balance of how much time you have to give to your clients to spend on your business, and how much money you need to actually have an income at the end of the day to support the life that you're living. So we start with that as the basic premise of building out our business plan. And what's great about this business is there is no one single way to run a real business.
There's
And
lots of ways.
And why I love working with 100 agents in our office,
Mm-hmm.
that each one of them have different goals, have different lifestyles, have different dreams that we're trying to accomplish. And we build that business around who they are, what their personality, that lifestyle is. So really starting at the granular level of what are we trying to accomplish at the end and working backwards, as opposed to starting at the point of, I want you to hold an open house. I want you to send them and post on social media. Those are the residual facts of how we get to the point of where we need, but we need to understand that goal first.
Critical in the business planning component of this work, which we're all in the throes of in fourth quarter, always of every year, moving into the new year, which is 2024. I think, and I know you are aware and agree with this, the moment you leap into this amazing business, understanding that it's an interwoven blanket, I call it, of your personal life and your professional life are woven together. There is no real, you can take time and put the right people around you, but the business itself never stops. The business is continuously going. It's the support systems you build around you to allow the business to keep going and those stories to unfold, whether you need to dip out or not. You see what I mean? And I think from my experience, a lot of people don't get that. It's not like working 9 to 5 at a Fortune 500 company, or even in the restaurant or catering business, which my long separate lives ago I did. There's not an off button in this business. It just keeps rolling. It's understanding how to allow the stories to keep rolling when you need to take the time you need to regroup, re-energize, be with your family, go on a vacation. So understanding the magic sauce of that, you can't, you got to be committed. Most people that have time off are available at night and on the weekends. I can't say, and I know you agree, there's very few nights and weekends where there's not some type of business happening. And I think that fundamentally in this industry, for all age groups, when they're at new entries, is a hard thing to grasp onto if they've never existed in that ecosystem before. So how do you coach them through that hurdle? Some of us look at it as a hurdle. I know, me, I'm all about it. I thrive in that and energy personally. I know a lot of people like me that do, but a lot of people don't. So how do you coach them through that?
Well, you call it the interwoven blanket. I talk about work-life balance. And it's not work-life balance, it's work-life integration.
Right. That's a great word.
That is really where we need to find and start planning business and seeing what your activities, what those actions are to build those relationships, to build that trust.
Right.
Building around what you do and how you live. Great example. I talk to agents, and I have agents who sponsor golf teams, sponsor little league teams. They have labradoodle Facebook pages that they're highly involved in. They volunteer at nonprofits.
That's so cool.
they're able to build the relationships while they're doing the things that they love.
They
And
love.
they also sell real estate, and I'm here to help you if you have that need in life when that comes about. We're at a point where when you're selling real estate, it's not a door-to-door vacuum salesman. You're not
No.
saying, "Yeah, you didn't think you were going to buy this today, but you can't leave, and I'm not going to leave until you have a new vacuum cleaner." It's not how it works. There's a change in someone's life. They
Mm-hmm.
get married, they get divorced, their lease is up, something changes with their work scenario. That triggers a thought that says, I may need to live somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, they need to trigger and think, I need to call Cari Ann. I need to call my agent because that's the person I trust who can help me navigate through this. So figuring out how to integrate your work and that trust
Right.
in that you already do, because you don't have that work-life balance. You can't check out from 5 p.m. until 8:59 the next morning,
Mm-mm.
all the entire time. So
Yeah.
have it doing the things that you enjoy, be doing the things that you're passionate about, and the relationships and the trust follows.
I think that's brilliant because we both know there's a whole lot of people out there. This is not a business where you get into the business for all the right reasons that you're not able to formulate and have a really powerful business. There's a lot of people to help. It's just being in the right place at the right time with the right voice and the right answers and understanding how to advise. And you can have a beautiful business in this world of real estate if you really want to. Teaching it is something that's shifted, I think, especially after COVID. The way we interact and work has changed a lot. And I think there's another coaching model I want to visit with you about on how you navigate um, the philosophy around conversation versus communication through platforms that are non-communicating platforms. Because in this business, you lose a lot of integrity and power in the voice, the speak, and the clarity of messaging because of the new wave of communication, which is heavily text bound now by people who are interested in making a life change, the clientele and the audience that's coming into play as it relates to getting into this business, right? And as a manager, I'm curious what your take is on that and what your advice would be to anyone who's listening on how to, I call it bring the old school way back again in a time when everyone's moving so quickly, because the outcome can be way more successful if they go back to picking up the phone and having a conversation, which is bringing this full circle, talking versus texting. What are your thoughts?
Great question, and really important in not only real estate business but life. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
these days of really having that connectivity.
Yeah.
Start with, this business is a combination of art, science, and emotion. And navigating and being able to manage all of those different pieces requires great communication. When we start dealing with only text, only direct messaging, only email, we're dealing with strictly science. Here's the question, here's the answer. And we
Right.
don't get to really hear what the thing behind the thing is. What is
Mm-hmm.
the worry that is creating this question? And is that worry being created by something other than just this particular issue that we're dealing with right now?
Right.
One of the things my agents will know is they'll text me a question and I'll pick up the phone and their phone's going to ring right now.
Mm-hmm.
Actually go through and dig deeper into that. I
Right.
am 100% in, in in a fan of accommodating a client's needs and speaking their speak. If you
Right.
want to via text, via email, we can absolutely do that. But when it comes down to making decisions on selling one of the biggest investments of your life
Mm-hmm.
and yourself, your family, your home to a different location, we need to be able to have that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So I coach our agents that to have that conversation up front, to set that expectation with their clients, that I will absolutely communicate in many times through the way that you want to be communicated with. But when it comes down to making a big decision, negotiating, accepting an offer, countering, whatever that may be in the transaction, I ask that we can have a quick phone call and make sure that we're on the same page and talk.
Exactly.
And having that ability, especially even not only with clients, but with other agents, the inflection, the tone, the emotion,
Oh, big.
huge amount of value in your conversations, it can be easily misconstrued.
Absolutely. It can be catastrophic to an entire negotiation by not doing that. Just because of miscommunication. It's a big deal. It can mean so much money to people.
A capitalized word, an exclamation point can people can sense anger when wanted to be enthusiastic. You don't get that perception when you pick up a phone and you talk to somebody.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. So leaping back to Edina Realty as a broker and 50th and France office as one of many offices, what would you like to share with everyone? Because we're a boutique office, but powerful in production, in terms of the volume of agents that play as it relates to the volume of real estate that we're negotiating and helping families through each year. What's your pitch, shall we say, for those that are curious about you, Judd, and about the 50th and France office? What would you like to share to the community? Not only those that might be wanting to get into the business, but clients that have worked with us in the past or are looking to work with us in the future, especially with all the new entry of so many small brokers out there.
When you look at the real estate business as we see it today, there are many brokerages that have completely discarded brick and mortar because everything can be done virtually. Everything is a tech platform, and you can run a business from your phone. Can you?
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
But we actually look at the difference between a top producing agent and a very successful business versus just running a business. The difference is connectivity and having more than that. When you look at our office, we're a very unique office in the Twin Cities that we have high traffic. We have a lot of bodies in on a daily basis. And when we have our sales meetings on a weekly basis, we have 30, 40, 50 individuals in a room sharing what they're seeing, what they're hearing. I'm not a manager.
Very powerful.
Exactly. And I'm not a manager who stands on a pedestal and says, here's what we're seeing and here's what you need to do. It's that idea sharing. It's understanding what you saw in a transaction last week, how that trend changed, how you handled it, and what other people's thoughts are on it. We had a great conversation at our sales meeting this week of, is right now the time to list your home? The answer was
yes.
Maybe.
There's not enough real estate out there.
I love that, yes. But it's maybe. And that's what we came up with. In certain scenarios, it does make sense. In certain scenarios, it doesn't make sense. And we need to be able to be that resource. And it goes back to being that trusted resource for your clients, of being able to work through that piece. If you're interested and there's an opportunity, yes, absolutely. Now is the right time. If you're looking to just go, maybe it depends on what you're looking at. But we had 50 agents debating what it looks like and what those different situations are, so they can go back to their clients and add that value to helping them navigate that decision.
The interaction in person, which is another real loss, I think, post-COVID, because it rationalized and allowed for the ability to operate business, all platforms of business in a different way that worked. They pulled it off, right? So I feel, and this is for all industry, like I deal with a lot of CEOs and managers of different organizations, and the recovery that's been difficult. And for those that aren't still coming together on a regular basis, there's a tremendous amount of empowerment and collective idea sharing that happens when you come together as an organization, as a group, and have these really constructive conversations. The networking power is just off the charts with Edina Realty. It's really impressive. We've got an exceptional properties group that meets once a week. We've got all different, for those of us that are carrying a heavier schedule and can't make it, we have great communication with each other through private chats. We're able to articulate problem solving techniques and idea sharing in a really collaborative way together as a group. And as an office environment, I've always been a big believer in brick and mortar because it creates a gathering spot for people to, congregate and with a schedule actually be able to, I call it scripting, role playing, problem solving mastermind environments. And that's what this office really is. I think that those that have gone off brick and mortar and are running businesses, if you will, just virtually from phone, personally, from an observation running a team, I do feel that as an operating team that's got the infrastructure in place and the staffing, we're taking up other responsibilities now with that shifting market and doing work on behalf of some of those counterparts that don't have that infrastructure. We're one of the last companies, I think, that still has a couple, powerhouse staff people answering the phone during the day and setting appointments and, taking calls 9 to 5 and talking to people. You don't have some answering service doing it for you. And I think there's something to that. It's another level, the concierge way, I always say. Service, service, service. It's all about providing exceptional service, not ordinary, exceptional, and being great communicators and problem solvers. And it's hard to do that without having that gathering environment opportunity where people are able to come together and learn from one another. So I think for you, and I know the other offices are like this as well, you're a big play with the company. This office puts out a lot of real estate. We're helping a lot of people every day, every year. So if you are interviewing right now, which I believe you are, what would be your number one, seek out, in terms of adding players to your team at the 50th and France office? What would you say you're looking for right now? If you were to pick your number one thing, you'd say to me, this is what this is what this office is looking for in terms of building its team.
It is completely being a team player, being open to working with others and being open to hearing other ideas. I've had agents that have come from every walk of life, from being in the healthcare industry, being a teacher, being a ditch digger, and they've done extremely well. But the underlying theme that I've seen is that they are perpetual learners and they are team players. They want to help and they are willing to accept help as well. And we can build the business around. We can create that knowledge of how to run that business. We have incredible training programs of detailing what that transaction looks like, what the needs are, what the tools that are available for both them as an agent and their clients are. But if you're not open to criticism, if you're not open to opportunities to grow and having that cohesiveness within somebody, the chance of succeeding is very low. I always tell people that if you walk into our office as a new agent and you walk around and we have a beautiful resource area with multiple resource areas, and you tap someone on the shoulder and say, "Hey, I've got a question," they're going to stop and answer unless their hair is on fire or a house is on fire.
Yeah, that's true.
I started 20 years ago in this office. That's what gave me the insight and gave me the support to get to build my business and move into this role down the road. But that's the thing. If you're not willing to be part of the team and communicate and share, then you might as well be on an island without brick and run your own thing. But that's where we've seen the benefit to having those additional insights, to having that support, is why we're outperforming the market.
It's brilliant. So everyone, I think what we hear from this conversation today from Judd Sampson, the manager of the 50th and France office at Edina Realty, is it's all about ultimate service, being very committed to what your goals are, and being very present. And the mindset is so powerful, and the clarity in terms of what it is you want to do for other people must be, your business must be led with that in mind, first and foremost. So really great advice, a great conversation, Judd. Can't wait to share it with everyone. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today. Judd Sampson, everybody. Thank you so much.